I started out as a family practitioner, family doc, and after 2 years went back and trained in rheumatology because I found that about half of my patients had joint pains, aches and pains, and the other half had some problem with emotional situations, and I felt like I needed to learn more about one or the other or both, and ended up training as a rheumatologist at McGill at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Montreal.
Can you talk a little generally about how the different fields of science are starting to come together to make groundbreaking discoveries?
When I started in this field, which was actually because of a single patient whom I saw, I was called to see a patient on Christmas Eve in 1979, and the question on the consult, I was a rheumatology fellow finishing my training at the time, and the question on the consult was, is this drug, experimental drug that we're giving this patient that changes brain serotonin, is it the cause of his horrible scarring autoimmune inflammatory disease? I came into his room and he was in such tremendous pain. His arms were flexed, he couldn't extend his arms, his knees were bent. It looked like he'd been in a fire with third-degree burns. So the sheets were tented up over his legs because he couldn't bear for the sheets to touch his skin. And that was the question. Was this drug that was given to treat his very rare and fatal form of epilepsy causing this autoimmune disease? And I didn't know the answer to that question at that time. And I spent the rest of my career trying to figure it out. By changing something in the brain, can you trigger an autoimmune inflammatory disease? So I did spend the rest of my career doing that. And coming at that question as an immunologist, I first did what an immunologist might do, take brain chemicals, serotonin, dopamine, and so on, and sprinkle it on immune cells in tissue culture and see what it did. And in fact found back in the 1980s that those nerve chemicals did change how immune cells function. Others were coming at the question from a different point of view. Others were coming at it from the neuroanatomical point of view. So there were neuroendocrinologists who were working on this question. There were immunologists. There were psychoneuroimmunologists. So the people coming at it from the psychological end who noticed that in immune diseases, for example, in rheumatoid arthritis, there's a lot of depression. Depression is fairly high incidence in people with rheumatoid arthritis. So people from the psychological end were asking, what is that connection between the brain and the immune system, between psychology and immunology? So at the beginning, people were coming at the question from different angles, and there was tension. There were debates as to what's more important, which pathway is more important? Is it more important that the brain's hormonal stress response regulate the immune system through the anti-inflammatory effects of cortisol that damps down the immune cells? Is it more important that the brain's adrenaline-like and adrenergic stress response regulates through the nerve endings and those kinds of nerve chemicals, adrenaline-like nerve chemicals? There's also the parasympathetic response that Herb Benson calls the relaxation response. Is that more important? What we've learned is it's all of the above. All of these different pathways, all of these different ways that the brain and the immune system talk to each other are extremely important as we walk through our world at every moment of the day. We are bombarded by psychological, physical, physiological stimuli, and the immune system is the early warning system for bits and pieces of bacteria or toxins, for things, for chemicals. And so you've got to have an intact brain-immune connection at all levels in order to have health. And when that connection breaks down, you have disease.